Well, welcome to the very first Party Doco Dotcast. My name is Party Doco, and I think I haven't really decided on the format of this yet, but I'm going to maybe do this maybe once a week. And I like the format to sort of be interviewing my friends, speaking to my friends more, I suppose, than interviewing them, and maybe just speaking to random people I don't know. You can at me on Twitter at PartyDoco. It's PartyDoco. Same on Instagram. And you know what? At me, ask me questions. If you want to come on the podcast, let's make it like a podcast for the people. That sounds a bit communist, doesn't it? But anyway, so welcome to the first podcast. In the background, you can hear a fantastic song called "Hanging Out the Back." It is. I'll sing along to it if you want. And look you in the eyes, I'm hanging at the back. It's a fantastic song. It will be getting played live in September for the first time, the first rock live version of it. September 14th at the Big House on the Ulmer Road. All for charity. I was going to talk about this later, but I may as well talk about it now. Gung Ho, best band in the world, best rock band in Belfast, bar none. Going to do a few covers, a couple original ones. We're practicing at the minute. It's going to be tight. It's going to be good. If you like AC/DC, you like Guns N' Roses, you like a few random covers, come down to it. Fiver in, all money going to, I think it's Save the Children's charity. So come on down to it. It's going to be great. It's going to be fucking lulty. So I was actually going to call this the Lultcast, but I decided to call it the Dotcast. As I said, it's going to be just maybe a weekly thing of me rambling about what's maybe happening in my life. I tend to have this situation where I get myself into crazy situations without meaning to. Even like the other day, I happened to be walking, minding my own business, and ended up in a water fight with about 20 wee kids that lasted about 5 hours. Any plan I had that day was totally out the window, and was hell bent on vengeance. Then soaking these wee kids who randomly soaked me. That was just a wee random thing. That I'm actually in Donegal at the minute. I'm going home today. I've been up here for the last 10 days. I come up just in time for the World Cup semi-final, the England-Croatia match. Just arrived literally just as it just was kicking off, and had a few beers with my mate Jan. He's a bit of a geezer, and I'm all right. I'll give him a bit of a shout out. We sat and had a few beers, watched it, and with a bit of crack. Really good fun catching up with him. I think it was a bit gutted England get beat, to be honest. I think a France-England final would have been far, far better. I'll come on to the World Cup as well. It's a bit of a rambling to go on about that. Bit of a spout. I'm not a dan about this World Cup the way everyone else seemed to be. I think people need to get their head out of their ass when it comes to it. But I'll come on to that later on. I say I've been in Donegal the last sort of 10 days. Now Donegal for me is the place I go and I pack the car, stack it up with beers, stack it up with Prosecco, buy bottles of beer. Like, I'm really here to party. Like, it's my time to sort of to chill out. I don't really party too much in Belfast these days. And when I say party, like, I'm not talking about Ibiza type thing, but like, go out for beers. I would tend to save it all up for Donegal, and meet my friends up here, and really have a good few pints and a bit of crack and relax, because I'm not having to get up for work. I'm not having to do anything. I'm off. I love going in the sea every day, going paddleboarding, going out cycling, just doing stuff, and then sort of earning your beers at night. And I've had, no joke, I don't know, was it because I was water fight or whatever, but I've had this bloody cold or a flu type thing. Like, I sort of half cold, half flu. Cold is usually nothing big. You sneeze, maybe clear, bit of a cough, clear your nose, you're alright. And the flu, like, it wasn't as flu, I wasn't bedridden or anything like that, but I was just feeling ugh for the last week. And no joke, I've had more lemsips than I've had pints this last week, which is, if you know me, it's pretty hectic. Although one cool thing I did last week, so I didn't really do much all week. I was kind of lying about, and I didn't really fancy beers. I'd normally sit and watch the football, or watch or love my horse racing, or watch something on TV, or do something, and maybe have a few beers while we're sort of relaxing. But I didn't even do it. I just kept having a cup of tea or a few lemsips. So maybe I'm getting old, I don't know. But don't worry, I'm back in Donegal, going home today, back up on Friday, and it's going to be, I promise you, it's going to be Lalt Central, and it's going to be proper Lalt. I've maybe saved up my, rejuvenated the batteries maybe, and I'm going to go Party Central from next week onwards. One cool thing I did though last week, I went to Sleeve League, Sleeve League is meant to be, well, they keep saying it's the tallest sea cliffs in Donegal, or sorry, tallest sea cliffs in Europe, and it's in Donegal. Brilliant, absolutely. I was kind of never been that, enamoured about it. Never that enamoured about, I know, just sort of any sites where you see around the world. I mean, I've been around the world and seen most famous landmarks, and each one I've seen has not impressed me. I thought the Sydney Opera House looked like a pile of bird shit from miles away, and when I was up close to it, it actually is covered in bird shit, which kind of ruined the illusion of this big white opera house. Same as the Eiffel Tower. Kind of thought it was going to be massive, it's going to be brilliant, but didn't really think it was that big. Maybe it's just me being not impressed by anything. I was impressed though by where was it? Cologne. That's where it was. The cathedral in Cologne. I remember walking past it. I was actually out watching Man United play Bayer Leverkusen a few years ago, and I remember thinking, "Jeez, that's some wild thing." That lasted about 2 seconds, and then I got stuck in my pants. But anyway, so Sleeve League anyway. It's meant to be like 600 metres at its highest point, but we went out in this boat, me and a few of my friends. Shout out to Jenny Colt for organising it. The boat was awesome. We got out at Teelan Pier. It was about €20. We went out. I think this guy called Paddy Byrne took us out in his boat, and he told us to bring, if we wanted a wee dip in the water, we swim, bring a wetsuit, so we did. I thought it'd be more like jumping off the pier type thing, but he took us out in the boat right to the bottom of the cliffs, and he pulled in near the cliffs, and he says, "Right guys, if you want to jump in here, get yourselves ready." And we were jumping in off this boat right at the bottom of these cliffs, and the cliffs were absolutely massive, really lovely. I was totally impressed. I was probably more impressed with the fact that we could jump off the boat and get wet and have a bit of a swim and all, but it was absolutely brilliant. I definitely recommend it. Sleeve League Boat Tours. I think it might be sleeveleagueboattours.com if you want to looking for the website, but I'm sure if you Google it, throw it in the old Google machine, and I'm sure it'll pop up. Brilliant. For 20 quid, it was the best couple of hours. I think it was like an hour out and an hour back. Takes you to the highest point. The one thing about it is you couldn't really quantify how big it was when you're right next to it. And maybe that's why I was kind of being let down by the Eiffel Tower, because there's nothing beside it to sort of show you how big it actually is, unless you're sort of just stand there. And then we've seen these two people rock climbing. I think they'd abseiled down it and were climbing back up it. And they were like, we were pretty close to them, and they were like ants, like little dots. Totally worth it. You can drive to the top of it and have a look down. We didn't do that now, we just did the bottom bit along the water. And went for a wee dip, and it was brilliant. Water was pitch black, it was so deep. But everyone, got your GoPros. I'm sure I'll be throwing videos up soon enough whenever I can be arsed. But I say it's just been a bit of a weird week. Like, I kind of was looking forward to going up and as I said, I had a few beers watching the semi-final, and then just the next day was a Sleeve League thing, and maybe I was jumping in the water and then the water fights, and maybe the weather was that good. You're kind of used to it, and then it wasn't so good towards the end. But I know, just that's a cool thing. Anyway, thankfully I'm getting rid of it. I'll be all clear for Friday when I'm back up. And as I say, I think there's a Hawaiian party on Saturday in one of the bars. Not that I know anything about Hawaiian parties, but it's kind of got my name written on it, so I'll maybe go and rock it up. Coming on to the World Cup, everyone went on about how great this World Cup was, and if you read any review, they'll all say how fantastic this World Cup was. I actually think it was a bit shit. I think that VAR thing is absolutely... I don't see the benefit in it in the slightest. Now, don't get me wrong, part of it was quite exciting. I think South Korea, Germany, was it? And it was like a 90th minute, and you're waiting on this, what's going to happen as the referee goes over to look at it. Is he going to award a penalty or whatever, or a free kick or whatever? Or I think it was penalty, or is it going to be a handball, whatever? It was kind of a wee bit exciting. I could kind of nearly bought into it. But then the final just blew it out of the water when the referee made a complete balls of a decision. Awarded a penalty when it was never a penalty. It was never a handball. The rule state has to be deliberate, or ball to hand, or hand to ball movement. There wasn't any of that. I think it was atrocious, and in the biggest match of world international football, they made a complete balls of it. So it kind of just ruined the whole need of it, and kind of ruined any sort of gravitas it had. So I think that was a complete nonsense, and not really one for stopping the match any more than it needs to be. It seemed to be VAR was only really used in the last sort of 10 minutes of the match. Well, certainly used a lot more now. I know that teams will be attacking more in the last few minutes, especially if they're behind, but there's more chance of penalty decisions and whatnot. But for me, being a football fan is all about... I don't mind the goal line technology because the referee gets a wee buzz on his wrist, The linesman, whenever they flag, they like, it automatically goes to the referee and buzzes, so they know when something's happened. This VAR, I mean, there's a bit of debate whether they have to sort of argue with the referee whether they're going to go and check VAR or not. I think it's, I just don't. I'm not having it. Not having it. I think it was that added to the World Cup being a bit crap. I mean, the best teams get to the World Cup final, and the best teams win competitions. I don't actually believe that. I think the best teams win the leagues. I think to win a Premier League, that's why for me winning a Premier League will always be better than winning a Champions League, no matter what. I think when Liverpool won the Champions League in 2005, they didn't beat as many teams as they should have in 90 minutes getting there. And then you look at Croatia, they were nearly going to extra time, I think, most of the knockout stages. So they didn't beat anyone in 90 minutes, but they got to the World Cup final. Now, I know they beat Argentina, it was, fantastic result and all, but I don't know, maybe something needs to change about that. England certainly had enough chances to beat them. And then when it got to the final, you knew Croatia were going to be absolutely bollocksed by the time they got there. France seemed to be getting better match after match. But again, I wouldn't have called France World Cup winners at the start of the tournament. I had a significant bet on Germany, and they were absolute piss. And I suppose my interest kind of dwindled a bit after that, but sure, it is what it is. I think the whole thing about being a football fan is... Now, I'm not one for these football phone-ins. I think football phone-ins are full of the biggest dicks and the people who probably support football a lot more than most people, but for all the wrong reasons. And the football phone-ins were just written out that I would even listen to them, but the odd time you sort of get caught up on it. But I think the whole thing about VAR is it mostly voids any wrong decisions or missed decisions. But that is part of the football. That's part of being a football fan. And you're in the pub after the game and you're talking about, oh, that was offside, or definitely wasn't. That was a handball, wasn't a handball, and now VAR is there to sort of wipe out any, what sort of chat about? What sort of chat about? Like after a match now, there's no, dodgy decisions. It's all going to be just down to to show you the goals, and that's the end of it. As a Man United fan, now I'd like to think I'm more of a Man United fan than most people, but again, my hatefulness about this has definitely dwindled in the last couple of years. I used to kind of have this thing: if you don't go to a match, you're not really a fan, and if you don't go to the away matches, you're certainly definitely there's a bit of a hierarchy in fans. And if you were going to all the games and whatever, you definitely had more of an opinion about stuff. And there's probably an element of that is kind of, I think certainly if you go to the matches, you feel as if you've done more to support the team. I used to work at Old Trafford for like 4 years. I never missed a home match. Got to the odd away match. Got to meet a load of the players. This is back in the day, like 2001, 2002. When Beckham and Van Nistelrooy and Keane all were, and Giggs and Scholes. Solskjaer, total legend. He actually called me a wanker one day, which is I'm still living off that. I'll tell you that story another time. And I went to see United away in Europe a few times. I've seen loads of Champions League matches. Now living back in Belfast. I obviously lived in Manchester when I worked there. It was in uni, but now the dwindling. People take football so seriously. And I read a book a few years ago, and this might have something to do with how I sort of stepped away from it a bit. Do you know the boy who used to do BBC 2's Match of the Day 2 on a Sunday night? I think he was the first guy to do it. Your boy, what do you call him? Off the One Show. Blakely. Everyone used to joke that Blakely fancied him. Adrian Childs, that's it. And Adrian Childs had this book, and he's a big football fan, but people gurned about him being, it wasn't a football man. He didn't know about football. But he is a real big football fan. He's a real supporter of West Brom. And then he wrote this book, and it's called Why Do We Do It? If you ever get a chance to read it, it's not the most enlightening book in the world. It's certainly not the best book I've ever read. But it was actually a gooey read, and it was all about why do we do it? Why do we become so entwined and so ingrained and so annoyed about football? I mean, there was a time a few years ago, if Man United got beat, I'd have been pissed off. I remember when Liverpool beat United. I think it was 2008 season. They beat them 4-1. And I remember just getting 50 million texts through from all your Liverpool supporting friends, and I was so annoyed about it. And then the 6-1 against Man City, when Johnny Evans got sent off, that was my 30th birthday. All the lads were in the pub watching it, for my birthday, and going to have a bit of crack, and that's kind of put a dampener on everything. And And now, like, I wouldn't really bat an eyelid if Man United get beat as much now. Not that I'm not as much of a fan of it, but I just don't take it as seriously. And this book really goes in depth of why do we go so mental about it. And the gist of it is why we get so annoyed about football is because it doesn't matter in the slightest. Whether Man United win the Champions League and win the league and whatever happens, I still got, or any fan, or whether you're, and I don't mean it's just Man United, if your team, whoever you support, if they win the league, they do something, you've still got your bills to pay, you've still your life problems to deal with, you still have to go to work at some point, unless you've bet £1 million on them to win the league and they've won and you've won a big bet and you can retire, which will be living the dream, obviously. There's nothing really to, you can't really, there's nothing you've done that's made them do it. You can't take any credit for it. I think some football fans do think they can take credit because they supported their team for their success. And if they want to buy into that, by all means do it. There's the euphoria of whenever your team wins something. You do get that for maybe certainly that moment when the whistle goes and you're happy, and maybe for the rest of the night if you're having a few beers or whatever. But I think it matters so much, basically in the gist of it matters so much because it doesn't matter. And I think that's pretty important to know. And I think once you realise that about football, whether it be your local team, whether you're supporting an Irish League team, whether you're supporting now I would give Irish League a bit more credence than I would Scottish football, because I think it's just full of it's just shite, to be honest. Like local football knows it's shite, but I think Scottish football believes it is actually fantastic. And I think that once you know that, you kind of have a different outlook to it. And maybe there's also, I'm getting older, and maybe there's a bit more priorities in life, and football, and getting annoyed about football is not something I really have time for anymore, and I can't be bothered for. It would have been a time I'd have planned my life, what I was doing that week around the match. Right, United or Tuesday night Champions League. Right, have to do something, I can't do it. Plan my life around it. And now, nothing really takes preference over me in my life when about sport. I think the only thing would be horse racing, because horse racing can't really change and it lasts a few minutes. But even then, it would only be really Cheltenham was the only time I would make an effort to, and the Grand National, the bigger races like the derbies and whatnot. But I'll come on to that later on as well. But anyway, so that was my kind of, I could be here ranting all day about football, to be honest. I think people, if you're bothered your arse to ring into a football phone in, I don't know what's worse. The people who ring in getting so annoyed, or the hosts that really wind these people up and talk shite. And who gives a fuck about most things in football? But I think when you take VAR away, at least in the pub you could argue about it, whether a result was offside or a goal was given and it shouldn't have been given. And don't get me wrong, if Man United play Liverpool and United scored an offside goal in the last minute to win it, I wouldn't have give two shits. I'd have thought it was even better, because it would have wound the Liverpool fans up. And vice versa, I'm sure if Liverpool fans scored an offside goal or got away with something in the last minute to win the game, they'd be loving it, and Man United fans would be raging, and that's part of being a football fan. And indeed, like, I remember South Belfast Man United's club, supporters club these days, and that's really a chance to go over with all the lads and ladies, of course. But when you go away for the weekend, the 90 minutes of the match tends to be the worst 90 minutes of the trip. Being a football fan is everything around that. Going for a few beers beforehand, talking nonsense after, and debating the match and debating. And like, VAR kind of, for me, kind of takes it away, slows the game down. Everyone keeps going on about how rugby is so much a superior sport to football. I don't buy that for 1 second. They keep garnering on about how rugby players are so tough and they deserve to be paid so much more money. If the game was popular, they'd be paid more money. It's not. Footballers aren't rugby players. Stop comparing them. Footballers don't compare themselves to rugby players, so I don't know, and rugby teams and rugby fans. Like, football fans certainly don't compare themselves to rugby fans, so it really should stop the other way. And all this like mixing of fans, it's great that two rugby teams can sit together, but that's great. I love rugby. I love Ulster. I totally support Ulster 100%. And Friday nights wouldn't be the same without watching Ulster. But it's a totally different sport. I don't compare football to any other sports. I don't know why I have to compare it to rugby. If the sport was more popular, they'd be paid more. Footballers aren't paid to take big hits, so why should they? I've no qualms about all that type of stuff. But I think that football needs to be, I know rugby has maybe a better image of its fans and a better image as a sport, and less corrupt and whatnot. FIFA was a complete char, but I think it needs to be careful that we don't need to bring in VAR. And I have a feeling now it's here for life, and we're going to have to put up with it. But the one thing that did get me through this week, after the World Cup final, which I thought was a bit of a damp squib, great final, in terms of goals and great goals, but refereeing decisions and it's a good team against a poor team. It's always going to be a bit shite. The one thing did get me through this last while. Fucking Love Island. Who could beat it? I'm a 36-year-old male, and I've got totally. I cannot believe I watch this night after night, week after week, and even I'm in text groups and WhatsApp groups, on Facebook pages, debating the shit that's happening on Love Island. Why am I like this? I have no idea. I didn't watch it last year. The last time I watched it was when Paul Denham was in it, and that was a proper reality TV show. None of this crap that you get these days. When he was going lalty, when he was getting blocked and going absolutely lalty every night. That's what it was all about. This is actually the most boring program I've ever watched. None of them, they don't argue. Nothing ever happens. One of the girls is probably, she's quite keen in a few men. And that's really the kind of only story there was. There's one girl in it called Georgia who just annoy the absolute tits off me. She kept going I'm loyal, and then calling everyone babes. There's nothing more annoying than anyone calling everyone babes after every sentence. And then she went on, is that bloody loyal? She should have been out on the 12th of July if she was that loyal. Absolute dickhead. But I can't believe, I'm probably more of a dickhead for actually watching it. But there's only a week to go, and I'm going to stick with it. There's characters in it I've kind of really liked to start, then I've gone off them, like them again, gone off them, and it's been like that. Most of them, let's be honest, they're all absolute idiots, and they want their 15 minutes of fame. Let them have it. I don't think money have much to say. I think the doctor guy's kind of cool. Hold on, he's definitely not cool, but I think he seems a reasonably nice guy, so we'll give him a benefit of the doubt. I think Danny Dyer's daughter and the boy with the big teeth, or the white teeth, bound to win. The rest of them are a bit, they've kind of, they seem genuine enough. Whether they will be or not, we don't know, but we'll see. We'll see what happens there. I'm sure, what am I talking about? Of course we'll see what happens, because someone's going to I'm going to make one of my girl mates buy Heat magazine, and I'll be reading about it for months to come. My life is that exciting at the minute. I suppose getting on to the one thing I do love after partying and paddleboarding and Donegal and things, is the horse racing. I run a Facebook page called Racing Doc. It's a website as well, racingdoc.co.uk, but it's currently down at the minute. Purely because I just haven't really had time to look at it and haven't had time to update it. There's a few things happened in my life recently that I've kind of maybe put a new perspective on different things, and I need to take maybe a look at maybe just not doing stuff as much. And basically I'll tell you what happened. My father passed away a couple of months ago, so I haven't really had time. I've obviously been sorting out a few things, and it's obviously been a bit of a sad time. I'm not going to go into that in this podcast at all, but there's obviously different priorities in life now, and and making sure my ma's okay is the big thing. And so I haven't really had time, and obviously when you're going through all that, you don't have time to do any sort of hobbies and things like that. Although now, a couple of months down the line, you're sort of maybe trying to keep yourself busy and whatnot. So the horse racing will be kicking back off soon. Generally, I'm more into the jumps, so the jump season's sort of the end of September, start of October, to the Grand National, or Sandown meeting after Grand National, around April time. So that'll be coming back in. That's when I will be making all the money. It's Cheltenham spreadsheet, get involved in it. That now goes out to about 1,000 people every year. So you started off just me. I used to write my bets out for my dad when I went off to Cheltenham. I go every year. So if you're going, give us a shout at me. We'll meet for champagne or pints or water, depending on how the day turns out. But I used to write all my bets out for every race, so my dad could follow it. He'd sit and watch it while I was there, and so he would basically know how I was getting on, and know the crack and get to enjoy it. I suppose the way I would enjoy it. He was able to pick out winners left, right, and centre for reasons. I'd spend hours looking at things, and he would say, "Take this one," and of course his one would win. But that's how it started, and I sent it to a few of my mates, and then I was going over to Cheltenham. People said, "No, they get a wee interest because it's Cheltenham." I tell them what I was betting on, and more often than not, they would have definitely got a couple of winners out of it. And then it sort of grew and grew and grew. I got more into it, and I got the Cheltenham spreadsheet. So it's been going out for the last few years, probably about 10 years. I've been doing it now. Last year was about 1,000 people got it, and the feedback is usually good. I mean, a couple of years ago, we had probably one of the best Cheltenhams anyone could ever have. I think with 21 winning races out of 28, 27, 28. If anyone in the Racing Post or anyone else doing this type of thing could beat that, fair fucks to you. I put a lot of work into it, and it all paid off. And I kind of been living off that since, like, you know, kind of the reputation kind of got built because of that. The last couple of years hasn't been as good, but still been good. Still made profit, still banging in 16-1 winners and whatnot. So definitely get involved. And if you hit it a wee like on Facebook, I'll get the website going again. Or at me at Party Taco. I really want to get this podcast. It says it's only the first one, so we'll see how it's going. And we'll get as a wee intro podcast, I suppose. We'll decide how long it's going to be. It'll be as long as it be. I don't think we need to curtail it, or we don't need to, you know, draw it out. We'll just be what it is. I say I'm going back up Donegal on Friday. I'll be up, pints, paddleboarding, cycling. I'll be doing an adventure. I like jumping off rocks into the sea, but I feel like I'm 12 years old when I do it. Like, but it's good fun. So I'll be doing a bit of that. I think I'll be going back out in the pool soon. Like, I've kind of been lying low the last few months. I don't even have really a girl I've my eye on at the minute. So maybe need to look into that. And you know, what is it they say in Love Island? Do a bit of grafting. Maybe I need to do a bit of grafting. So maybe do that at the weekend. Let you know how I get on the next podcast. I think I need to get back in the game here. I think that's really all I've got to say on the first one. As I said at the start, I'd like to meet people I don't know and get them on this and talk about. I mean, we can do the whole political podcasts. I got a degree in politics. Not that I know anything about it, but I'll be able to debate you about someone about it. I have my own. I think if anyone has similar views to me about political systems in the world, God love you. But I'm pretty stuck in my ways about a few things. I'm not going to divulge what it is, but I've strong enough opinions about a few things. And if you want to divulge into some of that, we'll get into that. And I'll debate all day long with someone. Same with the VAR. If you want to start talking about VAR, you want to do one of these people that does the rings in football phone-ins, ring in, or at me, and we'll see what the crack is like. I can't think that there's worse people in the world than people who ring in football phone-ins and give off about shit that has nothing to do with them. I suppose that's why Nolan kind of makes a packet out of that. People, there was a guy rang in Nolan, I remember last year, and was giving off. I mean, there's bonfires against people's houses, and he said the bonfire had been there longer than the houses, and the people in the houses would have known that before they bought them and moved in. Yes, that's what actually someone said, and he was probably being completely serious. So, what the actual fuck is going on here? Oh, that was a pretty loud email arriving there. So what the actual fuck is going on? I don't know. I think I don't want to be giving a shout out to too many things or anything like that. You know, I'm not here to tell you what's great and what's not great. So like, they're not going to be getting any sponsors, I don't think, anytime soon. And don't be worrying if we do. It'll be fun sponsors. People giving me lots of money. People want to make me drive a Porsche. Not a Porsche actually, but crap. But anyway, I'll go in, be divulging a million stories of the things I've got up to over the last while. I do, as I said, tend to get myself in crazy situations, and maybe use this as a bit of a confession type thing. Yeah, that might be fun. Admit the few stupid things I've done over the years, clear my conscience. I'm bloody say about that. Anyway, guys, let's leave it the next time. Take care. Bye.